We will call this our 1 o'clock meeting to order. At this time, welcome to our Tuesday, November 4th, Middlesex County Council meeting. I think all of our council is present. We are missing Councillor Smybert is unable to attend today. First, I'd like to extend congratulations to the students who participated in our Warden of the Day initiative. It was a pleasure to welcome them to the county building to share a glimpse of how local government works. The students brought thoughtful ideas, curiosity, and enthusiasm to every part of the day, from learning about county services and engaging with council and staff, and we appreciate that. We are pleased to present each student with a certificate of participation and recognition for their involvement and contributions. Please join me in congratulating these students of the day. And a moment once more to recognize the recipients of this year's Long-Term Service Awards, and congratulations to all of them. Who's asked land acknowledgement?
We acknowledge that the land we stand upon today is the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Lenape peoples, who have long-standing relationships to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. The local First Nation communities of this area include Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames First Nation, and Munsee Delaware Nation. We acknowledge the treaties that are specific to this area: Treaty 2 McKee Purchase, Treaty 3 Between the Lakes Purchase, Treaty 6 London Township Purchase, Treaty 21 Longwoods Purchase, and Treaty 29 Huron Tract Purchase. We value the significant contributions, both in the past and the present, of local and regional First Nations of Turtle Island. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect.
Thank you, Marcy. At this time, provision for pecuniary interest. If there is any, please forward it through to Marcy. Approval of the agenda. We do have an amendment to the agenda, I believe is going on the screen.
Sorry, we've had an addition to that motion, so just bear with us for one moment. I can just read it out. It's that the agenda be amended to include the following closed session items: an update on collective agreement negotiations and a proposed acquisition of land, and that the agenda be approved as amended.
Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Clark and Councillor Brennan, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes for and recommendation of the Committee of the Whole. Minutes from October 7th, special meeting, October 7th, regular meeting, and October 7th, another special meeting. It's on here twice. Okay, and then the last would be closed session minutes for October 7th. We have a mover for those. Councillor Grantham, Councillor McGuire, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. New business, delegations. And I believe we are starting with KPMG on the audit findings for this year. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Seems we know how to clear out a bench. All right. Through you, Mr. Warden. Good afternoon. My name's Ian Jeffries. I'm the lead audit engagement partner from KPMG for our audit of the County of Middlesex. This is Dale. He is the senior manager, and the two of us are going to walk through the very colorful document you have up on the screen. If you have questions as I go through, please ask. If you feel more comfortable saving them till the end and asking then, that's fine too. We'll answer any questions that you may have. I'm going to start on page 4, the audit highlights page. Right there, perfect. All of these items will be touched on throughout the presentation from Dale and I, but suffice to say, we are at a point now where we are finished our audit, pending approval of the financial statements, and we'll be prepared to issue those financial statements once that approval is given. On the following slide, slide 5, you'll see that the first 2 bullets of the 5 are complete. The 3 that remain are what we would expect to remain at this point in time. Obviously, Council's approval, signed representation letter from EWA and her team, and after that, we'll be good to go. Materiality is on slide 7, and materiality is the amount by which the decision of somebody using the financial statements would be changed if the financial statements were misstated by that amount. That's $2.74 million, slightly higher than the $2.5 million from the year before, just by virtue of revenues increasing year over year. You'll see on the following slide, 2 slides actually, the group audit slides, that we are the auditors of every entity that tucks under the County of Middlesex. So we've audited 100% of the group as KPMG London. And that group on the following slide is comprised of the county itself, emergency services, the library, and the trust funds. I'm now going to pass it over to Dale to talk about the significant risks and results.
So just on slide 10, management override of controls is a presumed risk under Canadian auditing standards. As it's a presumed risk, we have built-in procedures focused around testing journal entries to address the risk. So we just wanted to highlight we performed those procedures and we have no matters to report. We flip to page 11. So just around the financial instruments, we've obtained confirmations for the financial instruments from the county's financial institutions. We performed testing over the amortization that the county has recorded on the respective bonds. And again, there is no misstatements or matters identified in that testing. We flip to page 12. Revenue and accounts receivable, we perform substantive sampling on the revenue captions in the financial statements along with accounts receivable. Vouched it back to supporting documentation to ensure it was appropriately recognized. And again, when in performing that testing, we had no misstatements or other matters identified. We flip to 13. For the tangible capital assets, we ran sampling over the additions, tested any disposals in the current year, did a recalculation of the amortization recognized in the period, and again, there was no misstatements or audit findings identified. Flip to page 14. So for accounts payable, accrued liabilities, and expenses, so we ran sampling over the expenses in the year, vouched it back to supporting documentation. We also performed a search from reported liabilities just to test the accuracy and completeness of the payables and liabilities at the end of the year. And again, we didn't identify any misstatements. And our testing, flip to 15. So payroll and employee future benefits. So we performed detailed testing over the payroll expenses in the year. We obtained the actuarial reports for the employee future benefits. We look at the assumptions in them and compare them to benchmarking in the industry to ensure that they're appropriate. And again, we didn't have any findings on our testing performed over the balances. Slide 16 just highlights some new accounting standards that were implemented in the current year, and none of the standards had a significant impact on the county's financial statements, and we didn't have any concerns with any of the accounting policies or practices adopted or used by the county. We flip to 17. In terms of the financial statements, we didn't have any matters to report in terms of the contents. We feel that they're adequate and appropriate, and there's nothing to really note in terms of significant changes in the current year. On page 18, we're required as part of Canadian auditing standards to report any matters that come up during the audit related to the following subjects. I'm not going to go through each of them in detail, but as you can see, we didn't identify any matters to report. Slide 19 just includes the definition of a control deficiency. We didn't identify any control deficiencies in our audit, but just included it for reference. Slide 20 just highlights audit quality. Obviously, delivering high quality audits is a priority to KPMG. So this is some details that KPMG uses to make sure we're performing high quality audits, and includes some hyperlinks to further details around that. And if we flip to 21, just around independence, so just wanted to confirm that we're independent of the entity and there's no concerns with our independence. And I think that was all we planned to run through. There's the appendices as well attached, but I don't think there's anything we specifically wanted to call out.
Well, one other thing, certainly an audit involves a lot of hard work, but it involves some hard work of two different groups. Not only do Dale and I lead a team that comes and works with Ewa and her team, but they do a very good job in being prepared for us. You'll see from the presentation, we don't have any audit adjustments, whether corrected or uncorrected, which means the financial information you get as a council throughout the year is accurate and well prepared month in and month out, which certainly gives you a lot of comfort in terms of decision making and knowing that the books and records are kept properly and to a degree of detail that enables you to undertake your jobs properly. So, Ewa, thank you to you and the team. We appreciate all your help. The audit doesn't go smoothly when that help is not provided, so thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Questions from council? Councillor Clark.
Thank you. Through the warden to Ian, I noticed on page 16 there were some accounting policy changes in your PowerPoint presentation, and then I noticed on page 17 there was a link to an appendix for accounting standard that has to take effect April 2026. So are we ahead of the game there, or that's just for the 2025 filing that it will change how it's processed?
So that's more for information purposes. That'll be a couple of years from now.
Okay.
So some accounting policies, when they change, require a lot of work. Others, not so much. So we typically make everybody aware a couple of years before they happen. We'll sit down and chat with Ewa to make sure that she understands the amount of work and the amount of time it'll take. I don't think this one will be too drastic, but we just put it there so everybody knows that it's coming.
I guess I was just thinking ahead to the budget and capacity, and if it was going to create additional workflow or anything.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't? Okay.
It shouldn't, no.
All right, great. Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing no other questions on this, we have a recommendation coming before you. Moved by Councillor Mayhew, seconded by Councillor DeVete. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Enjoy your afternoon.
Our next item is action items is 2024 consolidated financial statements. And Paul, I believe you were going to start that?
Yeah. Through Mr. Warden, I think I'd like to start off by just pointing out everyone, Iwau, our Manager of Financial Services, is here. and she has had to put up with me for the past couple months in my non-finance role. And she's done an exceptional job leading the team up there through some organizational change and has delivered just amazing results. So I'd just like to take a moment to identify Ewa and the entire team for all the work they do. The next 4 reports are similar. We've tried to take a different approach this year to presenting our financial statements. It goes over the background as has been presented historically, but then also identifies key highlights from the financial statements. So those are clearly outlined within the report, gives an overall position, and then also gives a table that just highlights consolidated statement of financial position, consolidated statement of operations, change in net financial assets, and consolidated statement of cash flows. So all the reports follow that format and try to provide some context behind the changes in year. And yeah, I'm very pleased of the efforts of the team, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on the county consolidated financial statements report.
Is there questions from council on this report? No questions at this time from council, and we are looking for to receive this for information. Moved by Councillor Grantham, seconded by Councillor McGuire. All in favor? That is carried. Next one?
Yeah.
Library?
Through Mr. Warden, again, I'll reserve comment on these. All of them, again, feature the highlights of what went on throughout the year, try to provide the specific context to each of those individual statements, and then consolidate that down into a final table. And again, myself and the team would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions on this report on the library financial statements? No questions? We have a recommendation coming up in front of us. Do we have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Clark, Councillor McMillan, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And the next one is the Middlesex County Trust Funds. Questions from council on this? No questions? We're looking for, we have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councillor DeVete, seconded by Councillor Burkhart-Jessen. All in favor? That is carried. The next one is the Middlesex London Paramedic Services financial statements. No questions on that either? Councillor Clark?
Yeah, so so will this come to the budget committee or not at all? It's approved by the standalone board, so it's just being brought here for final approval?
Through Mr. Warden, yes, the 2024 financial statements only come to County Council, but for example, 2026 budget of MLPS will come to County Council and then go to Budget Committee, but the financial statements always just come to County Council.
Any other questions on that? Seeing no other questions, we have a recommendation in front of us, moved by Councillor Grantham, seconded by, you can't do both, Colin. Seconded by Councillor Burkhart-Jessen. All in favor? That is carried. Our next one is the boundary road maintenance agreements, Cobble Hills. Chris, I believe that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. This is just fairly administrative item. As council's aware, Middlesex County became the road authority for several road sections across Middlesex as part of our County Road and Bridge Assumption Study that was completed earlier this year. And as the new road authority, we're assuming the responsibilities for maintenance and capital work on our boundary roads under the terms of the pre-existing agreements that were in place through Luca Badolf and Thames Center. Essentially, these agreements are just to cover us off for regular maintenance activities. The neighboring municipalities have agreed to compensate the county for our maintenance costs. Any capital work in excess of $50,000 would be shared 50-50, but would come back to, depending on the scope, of course, to either to budget or to this room for consideration for future capital work. They're not automatically approved. And that's typical for boundary agreements we have with all of our neighbors across the county. So just looking for approval of those two maintenance agreements and be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris on this? Seeing no questions? Yep. You have a question? Okay, just we'll get that up. And then this recommendation, there's more parts to it, so. You're moving it? Moved by Councilor Burkhart Jessamine, second by Councilor Clark. All in favor? Carried. Inquiries. Councilor McGuire?
Thank you. And I had a question brought forth to me. I see there are some new signs, and people have noticed there's some new county signs on different roadways in and around the county. The question is that a continuing process? People in Strathroy-Caradoc are noting some areas have new signs from the county, other areas don't. So is this a continuing program? And if so, what could we expect for kind of the rest of the county?
Chris, you haven't answered that.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure exactly what you're asking, but.
Yeah,
go ahead,
just
Chris.
ask for, through you, the warden, just clarification. What type of signs are you speaking of?
It's in my mind, but I
Yes.
didn't say it. It's signs at the communities. So as you drive into a community, we see the Middlesex County logo and then the name of some of the smaller communities and even larger communities around the county, most of them posted on the county roads traveling through those areas.
Through the warden. Thanks for that clarification. So we have an ongoing program for renewal of our community signs. Recently, we've seen some of these signs have reached the end of their serviceable life. They've kind of come into rubber shape. So we've gone back out and reassessed some of our community signage, either to replace existing signs that sort of worn out or other signs that just have not gotten put into place as of yet. We're going to continue on with that program. We've got a few other signs we're going to be replacing across. I can think of a couple in Temp Center that are going to get replaced hopefully later this fall. But that's just an ongoing program that we have. They're the dark blue with the green sort of barn board on the bottom. We are contemplating reevaluating our sign designs over the next year or so. So there's some work that Carafin and I are doing in the background to look at refresh of some of that design guideline. But regardless, this is the time of year when we're out doing signage replacements. This is sort of our fall maintenance period. So that's likely the signs that you're seeing going up across all of Middlesex County.
Any other inquiries at this time? Seeing none, our next item of business is notices of motion, and it's the Middlesex County Archives feasibility study. So there's quite a bit to this. There's quite a few parts to this. Yeah, it's just for everybody's information.
So this is just a notice of motion. It's on the agenda to provide notice that it will be on our next agenda for debate. So it will come at the November 25th meeting, at which time it will be moved and seconded and debated.
Okay, Councillor Grantham.
Through you to the clerk, I'm not sure if it's appropriate. Who's bringing the notice of motion, man? Is that appropriate to ask?
Yes, it's been brought by Councillor McMillan and seconded by Councillor DeVete.
Okay, and that is for the next meeting. Councillor comments and other business. Anything before we start on this one? So we do have, the first item is the 2026 warden announcements. And this would be the opportunity for, if anybody wants to put their name forward and to say a few words. I know there is a speech when we go to the inaugural meeting, but you have to have a couple of words. Councillor May.
Warden Rupp, thank you very much. Council, I would like to put my name before you for your consideration of warden for 2026. We're all aware of the challenges that the county and local municipalities have faced over the last few years. Those challenges are largely behind us now as a result of good governance and the guidance by county staff. With new leadership coming forward, including a new CAO, HR director, and treasurer, we have a fresh opportunity to reset, rebuild trust, and move forward together. I can contribute positively to this next chapter of our county history and help strengthen partnerships at all levels. As one who has faced challenges physically and financially, I have learned to never give up. Those challenges have been faced head on, and I have put those barriers behind me many years ago. That determination is what I'll bring to this role, to never stop advocating for the people and the 8 municipalities that make up Middlesex County. This is my last kick at the can for me. As many of you know, this will be my 3rd attempt to become warden. Though I have been unsuccessful in seeking this position on 2 other occasions, I have accepted defeat respectfully and shown both friendship and respect to my victors. I'll be retiring from municipal politics after this term. With your support, I will serve this county with respect, admiration, loyalty, collaboration, steady energy, and always there for each member of this assembly. It's with respect and passion, Mr. Warden, that I ask County Council for their support in going forward to apply for this position of distinction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mayhew. Anyone else? Councilman McGuire.
Thank you, Warden. I respectfully put my name forward as your next warden for 2026. The world is changing, and it's changing quickly. And I would ask all of the leaders around this horseshoe to take a look at the type of leadership that will be required in 2026 and to find those leadership qualities in your next warden. And I believe I could bring those leadership qualities to the county. I think I'm generally a thoughtful, procedurally driven person, and I'm a good interpersonal skills and building those trusts and relationships that are going to be required. You know, we surround the City of London, and getting those strong relationships in the city is going to be key to our success and the success of the entire region. I most recently heard this morning on the news Mayor Preston out of St. Thomas speaking, and he spoke at length about his county and the entire region of southwestern Ontario as he tries to attract new economic development to St. Thomas. And I would like to bring those leadership qualities to the county. I also would like to bring the leadership qualities of relationship building with our staff and the other politicians in the area. I can tell you that I have the full support of my family. I have set aside the time that would be required to do this job and would dedicate myself 100% to it if successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McGuire. Anyone else wish to submit their name? Councilor Clark.
Well, I'll keep my comments extremely brief. Through the warden to council, with the full support of my member, municipal council and CAO, I intend to let my name stand for the position of warden here in Middlesex County. I think, without repeating other comments that have been made, we have a lot of opportunity in front of us right now that we need to capitalize on. We need to set the table to attract investment to this community. And I think when you go forward over the next few weeks, you'll have time to think about who would you like to select as your next warden. Everyone around this horseshoe has something valuable to offer, and everyone has a skill set. So I encourage you to sit back and reflect upon what you think the important skills are for a warden to have to move the district forward. In the next couple of weeks, I look forward to meeting individually with all the councillors around the horseshoe, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Councilor Clark. Is there anyone else wishes? No one else? Okay.
Fine.
Thank you to all three who are putting their name in. It is appreciated, and it is a big job. I agree with you, and you find out how much it is when you get into it, but I do appreciate you submitting your names. Thank you. Is there any other business before we move on? Seeing none, we need a motion to move in a committee of a whole. Moved by Councillor McMillan, seconded by Councillor Burkhardt-Jessen. All in favor? Carried. The first is delegation, and it is the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. And as Crispin, you're coming forward, I believe. Oh, and Karen, I believe you're coming forward as well. I'm sorry. I didn't see. Good. Whenever you're ready, Crispin, go ahead.
Thank you, Warden. It's a pleasure to be here, as always. I'll just jump right into it, so I won't, we'll just go right to, whoever is hitting the slides can go right to the next slide. Thank you. Just to bring you up to date a bit on the interprovincial trade barriers that we still face in Ontario, things that we need to address and that we are addressing is the movement of labor. Another thing that we're looking at is national standards for meat processing so that it can go across provincial boundaries as well as being exported. Currently, if you're inspected in Ontario only, your products cannot leave Ontario. So in order to expand trade opportunities, having national standards will allow that products to go not only across the country but outside as export. And that doesn't mean that there isn't room for small abattoirs as well. I'll go to the next slide. Tariffs are sort of, as everyone knows, a moving target. They change on an almost daily basis. But we're working with the Canadian Federation of Labor, or Canadian Federation of Agriculture rather, and under CUSMA, most of the agricultural products are covered so that they're tariff exempt. Pork and beef processing, for example, a lot of our live animals get exported to the United States for processing. And one of the concerns that we have is the talk of COOL, country of origin labeling. Now, currently under the CUSMA agreement, if an animal is born and bred and raised in Ontario or Canada and is processed in the United States, it is considered a U.S. animal. As soon as it crosses the border and is processed, it's considered American, not Canadian. If the country of origin labeling came in, it would mean that once it's born and bred in Canada, regardless of who processes, it would be labeled as such. That could impact our economy quite a bit. However, organizations that represent the American food and agriculture value chain are in support of keeping the CUSMA agricultural portion as it is now. In fact, they were quoted as saying, agriculture exports from the U.S. soared under the current program, under the current CUSMA. Canada, just as out of interest, is the U.S. largest or second largest market for products from the United States like feed, biofuels, and processed foods. So we're a big market for the U.S. agricultural products in that sense. Next slide, please. I know many of you are tired of hearing me say this, but you know it's the most important thing I think that we face in Ontario and indeed in Canada and perhaps even the world. Only 10% of the land that will be in the world as of 2050 will be able to support agriculture. Of that, 7% is grassland and won't support crops. So that means we've got 3% of the world's arable land that needs to feed 10 billion people. That's an awesome task, to say the least. On the next slide, you'll see why I say we need to protect farmland. 52% of the prime soils in Canada are in Ontario. That's a lot of prime soil. Some of the lands that are being targeted in this province, 7,000 acres in Woodstock, 15,000 acres in Picton, and Barrie Springwater is looking at 2,000 to 3,000 acres. So every acre of production we take out means that you're potentially raising food costs because it's going to cost more on less land. So there's lots of developable land in Ontario, some of it of little or no production. In fact, one of my fellow directors from Northumberland points out the fact that his county, only 40% of the land is arable. That leaves at least 60% of Northumberland County that could be developed for other industrial and commercial projects. So on the supporting agriculture, one of the things that we've noticed is technology is increasing. Sprayers, for example, and my son teaches at Vansar in the farm equipment mechanic program, so I learn a little more from him than I do anywhere else probably. Things like sprayers that have on and off technology that can actually turn off when they're no longer needed to spray the weeds, and they'll come up and they'll pick up that there's weeds ahead and they'll start spraying again. It's not only cost efficient, it's environmentally friendly, but it requires things like broadband. And one of the things that we've done, and I in particular continue to do, is to support your efforts with government to get funding for projects like infrastructure and broadband. Because you can't do it alone, we can't do it alone, but together we can make a lot more noise, and that's important to do. The next slide I've got is on wind towers. And that's becoming more of an issue. Some of the communities have indicated that they're unwilling hosts, which means that wind towers will not be able to be presented or to go onto their lands. And one of the reasons I bring this up is because of some of the water issues that have been happening in places like Dover, North Chatham, and the Blenheim area. Because the towers are getting bigger and taller, and the rebar that goes down into the ground is going in through the water tables, those towers move. It may be imperceptible to the eye, but they move. And as a result, what's happened in those particular communities is the water has become unusable. Filtration attempts have had minimal impact, if any, and farm families now, and even some communities, are looking at having to truck in drinking water. That impacts livestock operations, which impacts the economic viability of those communities. And it also puts farm families on hold in terms of planning because they don't know what their water quality will be like. It also lowers the value of the land. If you don't have water on your land, not too many people are going to be interested in buying it. So if you're looking at wind towers in your particular communities, please ask the questions. Find out, is it going to impact the water table? They'll say no, but there's evidence when you go talking to places like North Chatham and Blenheim where there's definitely impacts on the water. I'll touch briefly on the railways, just that in terms of what's happening, Ontario's the only province with a Drainage Act. As a result, the railways call themselves under federal jurisdiction and refuse to follow the rules of the Drainage Act. We've got an issue in Chatham-Kent where we've got a lawsuit. Chatham-Kent's actually leading the charge. OFA is an intervener on it, against CP Kansas City Railway on drainage issues, because they refuse to allow any drainage to be done. They refuse to allow the work, and I know Thames Centres have this issue, and we've raised this with Minister Flack, among other people, and we continue to push on that one because this has national implications. It's not strictly an Ontario issue, but Ontario is the only province that has a Drainage Act. That makes it Ontario's issue. But no matter who wins this suit, there'll be a loss that'll be appealed, and it'll be ongoing. And it's been going on for, I believe it's about a year and a half already, and I don't expect it to change anytime soon. The next thing I want to touch on briefly is battery energy storage systems. We've seen the rise of that. That's another 2.2 million acres that's predicted to be used for storage units. We're not against power, so don't take this the wrong way. We know we need electricity. We need it for our farms. We need it for our communities. We need it for our residential and business areas. But things like fire suppression are a concern. For example, a car, if it's an electric vehicle that catches fire, apparently they're either left to burn, or if you can pick the whole thing up and immerse it completely in water, you can put it out. But spraying water on it will not put it out. So if a battery unit catches on fire, what we've been told is, oh, they're sealed units, they won't. Nothing happens, it's just the one unit burns. There's still leaching of product inside those units, and there's still toxic smoke that can escape. So wherever these are proposed, make sure that you know what's around them. Some have been proposed down in Kent County, and people in the Chatham itself said, oh, we don't want them in the city because of the high risk, so we'll put them out in the country. I don't think that country people and country businesses and country industries like feedlots or anything else are second-class citizens and should be looked at it that way. So be very much aware of what battery systems do and of the potential for disaster if they catch fire. I'm going to touch briefly on cost of community services. And basically what this has been is a comparison of revenues that a municipality takes in and where they get spent. And we've done case studies, and the American Farmland Trust has done most of the United States. And so what we've come up with on the next slide, and this is more my sort of looking at it, putting on my former county council type hat. You want to flip to the next slide, please. And I was trying to picture where different expenses were, and whether residential, industrial, and agricultural, how much of these expenses they would use. So it's a rough guide to look at the services. So for example, recreation, it's heavily used by residential residents, but it's not used by industrial. Agriculture probably is a wash one way or the other. Sewer and water is another example of where agriculture, we always are self-sufficient in our own sewer and water for the most part. A few communities might have an extension of water services. But in terms of industrial and residential unit, there's a substantial use. So the bottom of that slide shows the dollar that comes in. For every dollar that comes in, it's $1.16 in residential costs to service on average. For industrial use, it would be on average, for every dollar that comes in, you're using 30 cents of your tax dollars. From agriculture's standpoint, for every dollar that comes in, we require 37 cents of servicing. These are just rough numbers, but it gives you an idea that for when you start to take away agricultural land and put it into residential uses, you're not only reducing your food production, but you're hurting your industrial economic base, and you're also increasing your costs as a community. So the next slide just briefly shows, it's just a quick eye chart comparison of the cost of community services. So the whole point of this is realize that the dollars you're bringing in, agriculture more than pays its way, and therefore just, I guess, be mindful of it, I guess is the best way to put it. The last item I'd like to just touch on briefly is the plant-based treaty. And this has just come up recently. There are 3 cities that have been approached in Canada that I'm aware of, and there may be others, that have signed on to this plant-based treaty. That's Brampton, Caledon, and Rainbow Lake, Alberta. This is actually under the guise of climate change. And the goal really is the elimination of livestock agriculture. That's really what the whole thing is. It's designed to promote vegan and vegetarian lifestyles. I have nothing against vegan and vegetarian lifestyles whatsoever, but I like my meat, quite honestly. But if that lifestyle is fine, but it shouldn't be something that I believe communities should be signing on to. And one of the reasons is livestock provide a lot of benefit. For example, pigs' heart valves are used in humans. Lung surfactant that we use in hospitals comes from cattle. Insulin has an animal derivative to it, as well as other vaccines. Bones, manure provide fertilizer. Hooves, horns, and skin provide us with glue, and hides, leather. Even air filters can have animal hair as part of the filtration system, and livestock helps our ecosystem as well. So when somebody says we're going to have plant-based animal only, we want you to sign on to this, think of what it does to the economy of your region, because there's a lot of livestock in Ontario, and in southern Ontario in particular. So on that note, Warden, I will stop, and I thank you very much. It's something I'm sure many of you have heard me say before, but I think it's also well worth repeating. Thank you.
Thank you, Crispin. Questions for Crispin? Councillor Grantham.
Thank you, Warden, through you to Crispin, and most certainly agree about preserving agriculture land, but increasingly I'm hearing from farmers about the want or the need for a severance for a retirement lot. I recall the provincial government tried 3 lots a number of years ago, and the OFA certainly put up a fuss about that, and rightly so, but does the OFA have a position on just a severance lot of 1 acre for farmers or a retirement lot?
Through you, Mr. Warden, to Councillor Grantham, yes. OFA has always said no. Severances, what we have said yes to, though, are additional residential units. So you could have a second home on the property within the farm footprint, as it were, for whether it's for farm labor or whether it's as a retirement. But this would be non-severable. The problem with severances, and this is one of the reasons that OFA has always been against them, it's not the first owner that's the problem. It's not the parents or the children that might live in that house, but it's the second owner or the third owner. Because what you run into is, this is their piece of land. They don't understand what agriculture is. We've had, in fact, complaints from some of the people who do have farms that have residential units beside them, where the people will dump their lawn clippings and garbage over the fence. They'll complain because they're combining at night. One of the people around our board table actually said somebody came out with a gun to tell them to quit combining. So those are the problems that we're trying to avoid. And it's the second owner and the third owner who aren't farm people who have a problem with it. The additional point is, secondary residences tend to be owned by the retiring farmer or their family on average 2 to 5 years at best. So after that period of time, that's when you run into the problem, and that becomes a municipal problem, because then they're going to come to you as the mayor of your community and say, I want that farmer to stop doing what he's doing. And I know I got a lot of sympathy around this table, this group, from that wouldn't happen, but at some point in time it could. And so easiest part of the solution is have an additional residential unit, but not severable.
Other questions for Chris? Councillor McMillan?
Thank you, Warden, and through you to Mr. Colvin. You may have stated this and maybe I just missed it, but where does this plant-based treaty originate?
I believe it originated actually in Canada. I don't have who did. I should have, because I was looking it up today, as a matter of fact, among other times. It is a primarily Canadian and North American-based group. Originated, I don't know how long ago, but it hasn't been terribly long. I think just a matter of a few years.
Okay. Other questions? Seeing no other questions, Crispin, I agree that we're good to work together. We're stronger when we work together to sort these things out, and I think that has to keep happening for sure. And I appreciate your time here today, sir.
Thank you, Warden. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you. We do need a motion to accept that for information. Councillor DeVete, Councillor Grantham, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our next report is from county officers, and that is the homeless prevention, connecting journeys. And Joe, that's yours.
Perfect. Thanks very much. Through you to council. Just wait for the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, Rebecca. So today I just wanted to go over some of the changes that we are making through our homelessness prevention program. And one of the main things is that we are creating it to be more of a program that has its own slogan and kind of tagline. So the tagline is going to be the Connecting Journeys Home Within Community. Go to the next slide for me, Rebecca, please. And the overview is here. I think if everyone's had a chance to look at the presentation, I'm just going to skip that and go through it as we'll go through the presentation. So how did we get here? So as I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of work through the homelessness prevention program. So we are looking at a way to how do we kind of tie it all together into a program in itself. So that's where we came up with the Connecting Journeys Home Within Community tagline, which you will now see on our website and any promotional information that we do share out. Why did this come about? Well, it came about because through some of our consultations with community partners, individuals with lived experience, some conversations with county councils, and also within our own internal team members, saying, okay, how do we kind of put all of this together? And why we're updating some of the things like our website is to increase the streamlined access points. What I also heard is really an understanding of what rural homelessness looks like and education. around that, and using data that is actually specifically to Middlesex County, which is hopefully helps people understand what rural homelessness looks like a little bit more. As I mentioned, we're building on and expanding on the current programs and celebrating them, the successes that we've had, the Middlesex Accommodations Program and the supports that we've been able to provide individuals that are homeless or at risk of homelessness. I put up here the Rural Development Network because it's an organization actually out of Alberta, but who we have been using to help us build our the slogan with the campaign, and also for information that's going to be put on our website as well. They're fantastic to work with, and they definitely put up with me getting back to them, and so they've been great though. So go to the next slide for me, please. So as I mentioned in the website, we are going to have a new look to it. So you can see the 5 houses with the swoops underneath it. We wanted to keep it in line with what the county already has for the Middlesex County logo in itself. But we are updating things to have the tagline, a little bit of a color change to stick out a little bit more outside of what the rest of the website looks like, adding the education section, and then also providing some myths and facts for individuals about rural homelessness. What is it? What does it look like? And, you know, hopefully answering some questions that individuals have when it comes to homelessness in the county. And just bottom line, basically looking at the usability, trying to reorganize it and making something that's easy for the community partners to use, you as counselors, but then also for individuals that are in crisis or need supports. So with that, we've also created some promotional material. So actually, I've handed out a poster to each of the counselors, and that is the final draft, the one that's on the page here. We did have some small updates, but this is going to be something that can be used within your community. So at your community centers, at your libraries, we're going to share it with our economic development friends to see if it can be also shared with any community partners or community organizations and businesses that are out there that may want to put this up. And what this information is to create and increase the access to information for individuals that are homeless or at risk of homelessness, but also a path for community members to say, hey, we might have seen somebody sleeping rough or unsheltered within their communities, whether it be in their car, living on a bench, etc. A pathway for them to be able to report, and then we can go out through our outreach program to support that individual the best that we can. So who our outreach program is actually one of our community navigators and a worker from CMHA, Thames Valley Addiction Mental Health Services in Strathroy. So winter is coming, so I wanted to put this slide in here so to help everybody understand kind of what our extreme weather response is. And why I just use the word extreme weather response is because this can happen, you know, we know our summers are also getting very hot. So in both ways, for our winter response and our summer response, kind of the same sort of response. So it is to identify the individual, reach out to that individual, and then create an individualized wraparound supports to help that person. So it may include a stay at one of the local motels, or potentially invitation to be participating in our Middlesex accommodations program. So if you, again, that kind of goes back to the previous page, if who to contact, our community navigators, any of the local community partners are a good resource because they do most of them sit on our Middlesex Homeless Action Committee, and then also anybody here at Middlesex County Human Services. So just wanted to also just highlight some of the other programs that are continuing that may not have much focus on this presentation, but our Middlesex Accommodations Program has continued to be successful, supporting individuals that are living in Middlesex County. Yes, it is located in Adelaide Metcalfe, but it does support all areas of the county. And when individuals come in from other municipalities, we do try our best to repatriate them to their communities. So if somebody from Thames Centre comes to our community, or from Lucan down to Southwest Middlesex, we do try to work with those individuals to make sure that they get back into the communities that they would like to come, where they came from and where they would like to go back. Food insecurity support, so we do support financially some of our local food banks. We did also just do a food bank drive, which our friends at the library supported. I don't have all the statistics on how much food was brought yet, but once that's done, we'll definitely share with council. Middlesex Paramedic Outreach Program, so our friends at Middlesex London Paramedic Services still come out to the MAP at the countryside, and also to WRC, which is our Women's Rural Resource Center. We also all are working on expanding that the paramedic program comes out to London Middlesex Community Housing to support individuals that are living within those places. Training opportunities. This is training opportunities for community members and also for the teams that are working through the Middlesex Homeless Action Committee. So it could be things like ASSIST, which is suicide awareness, Bridges Out of Poverty, just to make sure, again, it's about that education piece and making sure individuals know what homelessness prevention looks like and how to support individuals. And the last piece is the Whatever It Takes Fund. Pretty self-explanatory. It is there to help individuals to either be housed or to remain housed. So we know that all costs are going up. So things like rental arrears, hydro arrears, just anything really that might help that person maintain that housing. And if they aren't able to maintain that housing, we would use that funds to help find other new housing for them, either in the county or our neighboring communities. And just some contacts for you that provided in the presentation. I will say the slide was updated, so if you are looking at the one that was on the website, the thing that was changed on here is we actually just created, and our Eric, who's sitting over here in our IT, helped create our new outreach at middlesex.ca website, or sorry, email address. So that is what's on the poster, and that is we're trying to funnel again and create an access point for individuals. So if there's somebody that is in need of support, you can use the outreach at middlesex.ca. So what's next? So what we always look at is continuous improvement. What is our data saying to us? So using the HIFIS system, which is the Homeless Individual and Families Information System, information from our community partners to make sure that we are hitting the mark for individuals that are living unsheltered or at risk of homelessness. Presentations at each local municipality. So tonight I'm actually coming to Lukenbidov, but I am going to reach out to each of your clerks to see if I can come out to each of your councils to provide this presentation, or if there's other information that you would like me to share at that time as well. And then distribution of this promotional material. So there is the posters, but there are also postcards that can be provided and sent out either at your local areas. I'm going to be working with Lindsay at the library to make sure that those are shared there as well. And lastly, the Housing Stability Action Plan. So again, this was updated from what was on the website to now because some of the dates have been extended up into 2026. So what to look forward to in 2026 is that we are looking at providing a survey, which will be put on the county's website, and also doing some community open houses. So at each of the main libraries, to inviting individuals from the community, yourselves, to come and hear what the Housing Stability Action Plan, what we looked at with the end of 2024, where we had some other meetings, and we built the plan. Now it's about getting feedback on those action steps to make sure that we haven't missed anything. So there will be a survey that's put on the website, but also be coming out to do some community open houses in 2026. And the plan will be coming back to council prior to May 2026, so that's when it needs to be submitted to the province. And I think that's the end of my presentation, so I'm available for any questions if anybody has.
Thank you, Joe. Questions from council? Councillor Grantham.
Thank you, Warden. Just comments to Joe. Joe, thanks again for great work And I was glad to hear you're going to take this to council, but I want to focus on the extreme weather response if I can. It's something I've struggled at the local level to get done to accomplish. So I would just suggest that somewhere in your slide, your presentation, you may want to add in partnership with the local municipalities, because I don't think we should take it on just solely as a county role. There is a huge role that municipalities should play with it. And I just knowing, my council and my staff, if they think that the county's going to run with it, then that's where we'll go. So it's been something for the last 2 years I've struggled to get through. So just that little tip, you need to partner on it. Thanks, Gordon.
Councillor McGuire, then Councillor DeVete.
Yeah, just very quickly, I want to say thank you. I've been involved quite a bit with some of the programs in Strathroy-Caradoc, and your presence on this, particularly in your new role, is really starting to produce some great things for the county. You'll probably see as soon as we're done this, if you check your emails, that I've just sent you one asking for about 24 of these postcards that you've talked about, because I think these are a great source that we can give to our councillors back home, because we are approached regularly. I'm sure every one of us around the table are approached by people, whether it's community members on behalf of somebody else or somebody we see out on the community that just simply needs help, and we stop and talk to them. This is a great piece that we can hand to people and then make sure that they are able to actually access what they need to access by way of a computer or a telephone. So great work, and I think this is really going to make a difference in the community in all of Middlesex County.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor DeVete.
Thank you, Warden. Through you to Joe, thank you for the report. I appreciate all the information. This is a really very mundane question. With respect to coming to a library near you, and how are you getting out to the audience that you want to reach? I know our websites are really good about putting things out there, but there may be people who want to or should know about these sessions, but may not be accessing the information that way. Is there anything we can do to help, or how are we going to get the message out?
Thank you. Through the Warden to Councillor, absolutely. I would love to work with each of your municipalities on how to get this out. I would love to have it that we connect our websites together, where if individuals are looking on your websites that need some supports that the county offers, how do we make that easier for people to do that? So I'm going to be working with Caitlin and our communications department on how do we get that information out to each of the communities.
Super. That's great news to hear. We look forward to hearing from you.
Okay. Councillor Burkhart-Jess, and then Councillor Mayhew.
Thank you, Warden, and through you to Joe, thank you for the report. Great information as always. You know that I'm a huge fan of getting this out, not only to us as councillors and our colleagues, but to the residents across Middlesex. I think that these are important stories that we need to be continually telling in Middlesex, so that everybody knows that these are the supports that we have, and there's a reason why we have these supports. I apologize for maybe not prepping you for the question before, but with the extreme weather response, do we have any, well, I shouldn't say do we, because I think we do, but data. So last year, how many people did we support in the extreme weather response? Because again, I think that those are good statistics to share. That it's maybe not just one or two people, that it is a significant population we're supporting.
Thank you. Through Warden to Councillor. So I don't have the exact number, but I do know that it was over 20 individuals that we definitely supported with that. And what that is again, either 1 or 2 nights of stays at the local motels. But anytime that we put somebody in one of the local motels, it is about adding those wraparound supports, because it may not be that we can pay for an extended period of time, but how do we get them connected to the resources that they should be connected to?
Thank you. And then just one more, Warden, if I can. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. What sort of timelines, I guess, are we looking at? So if we know of an individual, if an individual reaches out to you, like what's our response time in being able to actually get to them and start working with them?
Great question through the Warden Councillor. So it would be probably 24 to 48 hours. We don't have the staffing really at this point to be as probably urgent as what the need is, so that again, it could be just sharing the information. That our community navigators will go out as soon as possible, because we have received information in the past where, oh, somebody's living in this location. By the time we get out there, they may have moved on, which we do have that risk of it. But having the posters out, hopefully, that's where we're trying to build that education for even individuals living rough. Where can they go? So it isn't immediate. We don't have the staffing for that at this point.
Okay. Councillor Mayhew. Your microphone, Alan.
Joe, thank you. Through you, Warden, to Joe. Joe, Southwest Middlesex is currently feeding around 100 hot meals to approximately 150 people per week under the banner Regen. They have been doing that for some time, a very small group of faith people and their friends. They have served over 50,000 meals since COVID-19. And I want to thank the county that they have received funding from the County of Middlesex on that. Before, they were going hand in hand, even though some of the businesses and shops in the area were providing food services and things like that to them. There was always costs when you feed that number of people. And without the county support, to Joe, quite frankly, I don't think we could do that. And I want to tip my hat to you and all members of County Council that this is a very sustainable program as it is right now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions from Council on this? I would say, Joe, this very thing came up this morning from our councillors of the day, the young people that came forward, and they did talk about what we're doing with the homelessness. And I think the success of this will depend on how good we are getting out to the people who need help. That's going to be the crux of the whole thing, right? So I appreciate very much your report and look forward to seeing results and seeing it going forward. So if there's no other questions, we need a motion to accept this for information. Moved by Councillor Clark, Councillor McMillan, all in favor. And it's carried. Thank you. Our next action item is award of RFP MC 2025-13 Strathmere Lodge Long-Term Care Home Strategic Alignment Review and Master Plan. Josh, I believe that's yours.
Thank you. Through the warden to council, per the report on September 9th, County Council passed a resolution for staff to undertake procurement activities to potentially retain a consultant for the Strathmere Lodge Performance, Compliance, and Strategic Alignment Review and Master Plan. An RFP process commenced immediately after, closing on October 1st, with 4 submissions being received, of which the Center of Organizational Effectiveness was the highest scoring respondent. The project is estimated to take approximately 2 months to complete and includes a discovery phase, an interactive summit, and a final report and master plan, which will be presented to County Council. The recommended proposal came in at $42,000 excluding HST and will come out of the Lodge's administration budget, which has appropriate funds. With that, the report contains several staff recommendations for council consideration, including to award the RFP to the Center of Organizational Excellence, and we'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Questions from council? No questions? We have a recommendation going up on the screen. Moved by Councillor Veet, second by Councillor Mayhew. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Josh. Our next is 2024 year-end performance report. Paul, I believe we're doing that.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden. Before you is the county's year-end performance report on a cash basis, and the county results in a cash surplus of just under 2.4 million. The report provides an overview of sort of the historic trend of Middlesex County having 4 to 7% year-end surplus, and walks through the reasons why that surplus has been identified this year. I think on a go forward in accordance with the direction of council, we can be a little more aggressive on our budgeting as a starting point, and also a little more aggressive on our revenue side. Some of our service areas have experienced significant uptakes in provincial funding envelopes. So the report goes through to identify the specific service area surplus or deficit, does the same for the library. Middlesex County has also been in historic past practice of pre-allocating potential surplus. So within the 2025 budget process, County Council allocated 2024 surplus into the budget. So 1.5 from the general surplus and 815,000 from transportation services winter maintenance surplus. So with those calculations factored in, there's a remaining surplus of $75,328.66 that we're recommending to be allocated to the tax rate stabilization reserve in accordance with county's past practice on what is done with surpluses. And then likewise, similarly with the budget process for the library board, there was $70,000 allocated, and there was a modest surplus from 2024 of $41,285,000, so that would be allocated to the 2025 budget in accordance with that previous direction of council, and there'd be a slight underfunding of approximately $28,715. So again, we've tried to take a different approach to really break down and identify where and how the surplus came from. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Paul, questions from council. Councillor DeVete.
Thank you, Warden. Through you to our CAO. I wondered about the surplus at the lodge, and does that go to, wouldn't that go to lodge? I mean, given the time delays and lags sometimes in the funding envelopes that they get, and it's based on data that's X months old or years old, is that also going into the general piece, or is that going to maybe go to the lodge itself? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Warden. For this one, it's just into general surplus. Yeah, the finance team is very careful to ensure that if it's a funded program, it stays within the funded program. But in the year-over-year process, including the work at the lodge roof that was redone, this would fall within the general. That's specifically to that point, though. That's why the transportation winter service, winter maintenance surplus is identified as a standalone, because that's where that originated from.
Okay. Any other questions? At this time, no other questions on this. All right, we have a recommendation coming before us. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Mayhew, Councillor Clark, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we are looking for Municipality of Middlesex Center request for delegation of County Council's Planning Authority. And Dirk, you're going to speak with this.
Thank you. Through the Warden. Of course, Council, you've had the opportunity to review what is admittedly a long report, and so I would, if it's okay, just like to highlight a few of the key considerations in arriving at the recommendation. So the request from the municipality is that County Council delegate its planning authority to the local municipality. The stated purpose is to streamline the planning approvals and support the construction of additional housing. The report that Paul and I have put together provides an overview of provincial, county, and local responsibilities. We looked at comparators, including adjacent counties, other areas in Ontario, and also AMO data that was available. A couple of larger organizations have looked at best practices and planning efficiency, including AMO and OPPI, the Ontario Professional Planners Institute. Both of those reports are available publicly and frankly don't contemplate delegation of council planning authority. I would say that the current responsibilities for planning in Middlesex County are reflective of the broader practices of counties across Ontario, outside of those major urbanized areas. And frankly, full delegation of planning authority is uncommon. We did meet with municipal administration, met with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. We looked at application types and timelines, and all that data is in the report. And I do think it's important to note that the planning system isn't static. It is regularly fine-tuned. I often sit down with CAOs or their designate and sort of talk through things as processes evolve. The report then, towards the end, assesses risk and impact, and there are 6 areas noted: countywide coordination and policy integrity, administrative efficiency, precedent, balancing priorities, conflict, and then communication and coordination. I won't go into those in detail, they're all in the report. If I could just hit 2 highlights, I guess. The first, in my view, is that the delegated authority would not remove the potential for disagreement between a municipality and the county. It would, however, shift that largely to the Ontario Land Tribunal, as opposed to any of those issues sort of happening at the county council level. And I think while there can be tensions in the system, the current system does allow for those both perspectives, for that local and that county perspective. And the framework maintains a balance between that local, the county, and then the provincial perspective, which has largely been delegated to county council's level. And then a final comment, I think that in some respects that the system has become a bit of a victim of success. There has been very little conflict between municipal councils and county council in recent years. And I've had the opportunity and the fortune of being here long enough to remember prior to that, when frankly there was more conflict between local municipal decisions and county council. And I don't know that there's probably that many staff otherwise that have been here to sort of experience both of those. And there's one example I would just highlight that's in the Middlesex Center material, and I'll just quote it. There's a reference where staff were unable to find an example of a plan of subdivision file where conditions of draft plan approval were significantly revised between local council's recommendation and the county council report. And that's absolutely correct. And we work, and your planners work really hard at that. The goal, that's a deliberate action, and the goal is to try to bring forward, in that example, draft plan conditions that satisfy both local council, any stakeholder agencies, et cetera, and county council needs. So I think that is, I would submit, as an example of a well-functioning system, and we've sort of gotten used to that it has worked in that way. So with that, that's a very high-level overview of a lengthy report. So thank you through the warden and council, and I'm, of course, available to you.
Thank you, Dirk. Paul?
Yeah, I think I would just say Dirk's done an excellent job in writing this report with his team of walking through an admittedly complex and dense topic and presenting the county administrative response on that. And I just want to point out that was arrived after consultation with the province, Middlesex Centre, administration, and engagement on that as well. And only after all that was the report drafted. And I think this is sort of the beauty of two-tier government. While the county and local municipalities may approach services from a different perspective, in this case, planning, we have that common outcome and a commitment, in this case, to efficient approvals and good land use planning. And under our current system, when all parties are participating, the county system delivers that coordination, efficiency, and professional oversight. So it's balancing those perspectives, and I think Dirk's report has done a great job outlining that, and it really provides the benefit of regional government, regional benefit. I would like to also just take a moment to recognize our planners. This isn't really specifically about our planners, but I think they've been kind of caught up in this request. I think they're exceptional professionals, and I think a lot of people around the room would say the same. Their work consistently delivers deep technical expertise, fairness, and reflects their sound judgment, and they bring tremendous value to the files and the planning that we experience here within the county. So we're appreciative for that, and their professionalism and integrity are really at the heart of why the system works as well and why it's recognized and emulated across the province. So ultimately, Dirk has summed it up that maintaining that authority preserves that balance between local responsiveness and regional coordination, and it allows municipalities, including Middlesex Centre, to continue benefiting from that shared professional capacity. And that would be our recommendation at this time, but we're more than happy to answer any questions you may have on this one.
Thank you, Paul. So questions from council on this? Councillor Brennan?
Through you, Mr. Warden, not so much questions, but just some comments. First of all, Middlesex Centre, and I speak as a lower tier councillor at this point, have no repercussions or doubts about county planning staff or Dirk. We feel they do an excellent job. There's no doubt about that. We're not questioning that. What we're saying is that the province has given us a lot of money to accelerate housing. And under the Fighting Delays Building Faster Act of 2025, which I realize has not yet been passed, in that direction, we are simply trying to increase the speed of which we can get plans of subdivision and condominium developments done. Now, about 75% of that happens at the lower tier and 25% happens at the county level, roughly. So I think that by requesting this, we can cut perhaps 25% of the time off to get this stuff planned and passed and start developing it. So this is not an attempt to sidestep the county. We still will be using county planners for other things. We have our own planner now that can expedite these sort of things. So we're just trying to work within framework of the province to use this money that we've been given to build houses quicker. And this is what this is really all about. This is very difficult to speak to when you're sitting on both sides of the fence. But I'm here as a county councilor, but I'm here representing Middlesex Center. So I will just say that this is an attempt to expedite building agreements and subdivision agreements so that we can try to fulfill the province's mandates. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Grantham?
Warden, I never know when the right time to do this is, so I'm going to do it now. I'm going to make a motion to defer this until the next meeting. I'd like to explain why. To me, this is a big decision, and I always admit when I don't know enough and don't have enough material at hand. I don't know enough today from reading the reports the last couple days. There are some people I'd like to go back as, a lower tier municipality and consult with my folks, because I have a feeling this has larger ramifications. So my thoughts are I don't have enough to make a decision today, and I realize it's a big decision. So Warden, I'm going to make a motion to defer this until the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. I would need a seconder for that to carry on. Councillor McGuire would second that. Other discussion, other comments, questions? Seeing no other questions or comments on this? No, just on the whole thing. Not just on the motion. Like, we'd have a second, correct? Okay, just about deferral. No other questions, no other comments on it? All right, we have a motion in front of us, that is to defer this till the next meeting, is that correct? In favor of that? Opposed? That does not carry. It is defeated. All right, so now other questions, comments on this? Councillor McGuire?
Thank you, Your Worship. Had an opportunity to speak with Councillor Brennan just prior to the meeting, and I think we were both honest with each other. I know we were. I didn't have a chance to speak to Councillor DeVitt, this timing being what it is, but sitting at this horseshoe, I represent the county, and that includes all 8 municipalities, 7 of which are represented here. Newberry, of course, does not have a seat. But I think we still have to take them into consideration when we're looking at the county as a whole. I have concern if we start moving in this type of direction, and I understand the direction that they want to move in, that it will weaken or potentially weaken the county's planning department, which would likely impact our smaller communities quicker and perhaps more intensely than they would the larger communities. And I sit because of a larger community. That concerns me. I think having the expertise and the staff at the county serves all of us well. And in order to save, and I know, in speaking to Councillor Brennan, I think it's undiscernible exactly how much time could be saved here, but saving a little bit of time and potentially hurting us as a county is not something that I could support. I also am worried, Your Worship, that when we start looking inwards too much and removing that regional view that the county brings to planning and to governance, it could almost have the opposite reaction if something goes amiss and the province looks at it. Because what I'm seeing, everything from the province is looking at larger scope regionalization of stuff, although they're not like taking control of it again, but certainly whether it's the conservation authorities or the trustees at school boards, they're looking out broader again. Like they're trying to get rid of the bureaucracy of the smaller municipalities. So that is also a concern of mine. So, you know, without answers to all of those type of concerns, this would be difficult for me to make a decision on or support today.
Thank you. Councilor Burkhart Jensen.
Thank you, and through the warden. Certainly, I appreciate all of the information that has been submitted for this report. As the Director of Planning did indicate initially, it is quite a large report with a lot of information to go through. At this time, though, I can't support the request from Middlesex Centre. You know, the director did talk about that we're a victim of our own success, and I would say that how we at Middlesex County with our local municipalities maneuver through planning at the local level, at the county level, and we all know that in the last couple years, planning seems to be a moving target, and every day you never know what the rule of the day is going to be. But I would say we're a gold standard with the way that we deliver our planning services for our local development communities, for our residents. And with all due respect to Middlesex Centre, to say that having the delegation go back to the local municipality to save 25%, I would say, of time, I would say come to the planning department and have a conversation. I think that the beauty of the system that we have with us right now is that we have departments that work with our local communities to answer to the needs of what our local communities need. And if we're finding that things aren't moving as quickly, then work through that process. I find it concerning that if this is a concern that a local municipality has, that this is the first this table's hearing about it in this form of a request. Because going through to receive and to act on the request received by this local municipality, to Councillor Maguire's point and what he said, it really does set the county up for difficult times and for a change that I don't think that we are prepared for at this time. I think that our local municipalities would suffer, and our planning department is. There's a reason why this sort of delegation has been given to counties or two-tier systems by the province, because it works. There's nothing that has shown us that it hasn't worked. There's documentation and there's wording in the materials that have been submitted by Middlesex Centre that they cannot point to an application that was changed, that was held up in any way to the detriment of development in Middlesex County. So I'll just leave it at that, but I cannot, I would be supporting the recommendation as it's set out by staff.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Councillor DeVete.
Thank you, Warden, through you. I appreciate the comments. This is a thick report. There's a lot of work that's gone into it, a lot of research. The one thing that I haven't heard people talk about that is, as I said, my particular lens at times, is the fact that 25% is a significant amount of time when you look at the context of this, but there are a number of municipalities that have gone to doing two things, the two requests that are made by our municipality, not all of the planning pieces, but the two specific approvals. And I mean, this is not a first for a lower tier to ask for, and Dirk responds to the 8 that were listed in the plan by the planner in our report or request, and provides more detail. If there's a time saving or an opportunity to look at efficiencies or shaving time off or saving money, my thought was that if we have 2 years of this at no cost, like there's no financial implication to the county in any way, shape, or form by doing this, it would help speed up things for our municipality. But it was interesting I was taken aback by the comment that the question was, how many similar sized municipalities do not have delegated authority? I look at change and moving forward, and if there are some in the province, and there are more than 8, but the ones that are doing it, if they're doing things more quickly, if they're doing them more inexpensively, if there's some efficiency, I don't know what I don't know about the midst of the processes and all the work that you do, but to me, I'm going, if there's continuous improvement in an organization, if there's a way of doing things faster, and it doesn't suit, I mean, we have a registered a planner on staff. If that resource isn't available to everybody else, that's fine. There is a system that can work. But to the extent that one municipality is looking at their system in-house, the resources are there, others across the province are doing it. If that is going to help the county, then do other work or allocate resources more effectively, efficiently, get files done, then a 2-year no-cost test period to see, are there ways of doing this? Are there ways of doing that? Can we look at how flows are done? Or that to me would be, I mean, we might be on the project update list at the next WOWC conference. We heard about innovative things that have happened in other counties at that meeting. If there's an experiment or a test done here, I'm just saying that to close the door on an opportunity to learn something might not be a good thing.
Thank you. Other questions, comments on this? Seeing none, what's council's wish here? Councilor Burkhart Jessup.
I will make the motion as it, I just lost it. The recommendation number 2, as it's set out.
You're making a motion for recommendation number 2. Can we get that on the screen? Is there a seconder for that motion? Second by Councilor McGuire. Is there discussion on this motion? No discussion? All in favor of this motion? Opposed? Okay, that does not carry. Look for more direction from council on this. Paul?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Warden, not to interject into the discussion. So there, as noted within the agenda, there is an in-camera report pertaining to this request as well. And then I think generally if council was looking for wording to the alternative, you know, it's something like a procedure would have to be brought up with. As you recall, the Newbury official plan, there was a procedure approved. So if you were going to go forward with the request, we would have to outline how that works and bring that back for council approval. But I would just point out there is an in-camera report relevant to this as well, and that I think Legislative Services could provide some additional commentary on a potential resolution if council was going to go alternative to the recommendation.
Councillor Clark.
Are you looking for a motion? Can we defer this until we go through the closed session and then revisit this back on the agenda?
Are you making a motion to move into closed?
Sure.
Yes. No. Motion to go into closed by Councillor Clark, seconder. Councillor DeVete? Yes?